These are the top 20 hottest tools on Amazon right now, and every single one of them are $20 or less, including this little gem that I think is going to sell out real quick. Before we get started, if you'd like to check out any of these tools I show today, there'll be a link in the description and that pinned comment to help you find them easier. And you don't want to skip a one because these are actually tools you would use. Let's go. Believe it or not, this is one of the hottest tools smoking right now on Amazon. It is about $10 at the time of this filming. And as always, just check the links for current pricing because they may fluctuate a few dollars here or there. This is a DeWalt Tough Case Plus organizer, and it can be super handy, maybe even handy as a shirt pocket. These little cases are perfect for storing your bits, especially driver bits when you have several of them scattered around the shop like I do, and you don't really know where to go to get them. If you have them all in one place, it's really easy. And if you have a DIY project inside or around the house, you can take the case with you. That way you're not running back and forth looking for the bits. But you can use this to store that. You can also use these for screws of various sizes, anything for small parts organizing, and this is a little hidden gem. Next up, this is something I think every woodworker should have, and it's double stick tape. It's one of the most useful things you can have in the shop, and it's very inexpensive. I like this brand. It's called X-Fasten. I have several rolls of it around the shop, but the great thing about this stuff is it lets you stick stuff to other stuff. So let's say you want to stick something to your workbench while you work on it, kind of like I did on the mini crosscut sled. I was able to stick that down and I was able to do my routing. It's that strong. It will hold that stuff in place for those purposes. And when you're ready to pick it up, it just pops right up. And you could also use this if you're doing a lot of template routing on a router table or even with your standard router, and you want to stick that template to the piece of stock that you're going to be routing. There's a dozen uses for this stuff or more around the shop, and for the price of it, you got to get some. Next up, mallets. I think you should have a mallet or two or three in the shop for a variety of reasons. You're going to use them to bump pieces into place. You're going to use them to just get mad and hit stuff, that you need some mallets. I've got a couple here that I think every woodworker should own. First, I like this double-headed mallet. One side is a little bit softer, one side's a little bit harder, so when you need to strike something with a little more force, I would use the yellow side. If you need a little more gingerness, you can use the red side. These are very inexpensive and very useful. I've actually had one for years, and you can see this one's been through a little bit, knocking and banging on stuff, but I've had one of these and they are very, very useful. Also, a dead blow mallet. This thing is filled with BBs, basically, or shot, and so when you hit something, it literally will not bounce. It just boom. And what this is useful for is it won't damage your product as much because you're not getting that recoil, and it give you a lot more precision when you're tapping things into place. You can even hear the shot or the BBs in there. These are very inexpensive and extremely useful to have in the shop, and at the price you should probably pick up both. Next up, these are handy little setup tools or even layout tools. I call these shoulder squares, but they're actually called drawing line rulers, the name on these. They come in multiple colors and they come in metric or imperial, so no matter which camp you're in, you should be happy. The reason I call them a shoulder square is because you can carry that line all the way around the board. So if you're on a 2x4, 2x8, whatever, you'll be able to mark that line and carry it over on the edge and keeps it perfectly straight. So you know exactly where you're supposed to cut or where you're laying things out. This can also be used to set up the bit height on routers because it does have a nice scale there on the end, all the way up to 4.5 inches. So plenty of distance there to set up any router bit you're going to need to set up, and saw blades, of course. This is a 45-degree angle, so you can also mark 45-degree angles, and you can use this as a square, so you can check the square of stuff. Again, multiple colors and metric or imperial. You should just have one of these in the toolbox. Next up, when you start out woodworking, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know that I was going to be needing chisels around the shop for various tasks. But when I started looking at them, they were very expensive. Now, I love my Narex chisels, but they are very, very expensive. But that doesn't mean your first set of chisels has to be a very expensive set of chisels. I started out with a skill set, I think it was. This is a DeWalt set, and these are actually really nice for under $20. First up, you get a half, a 3/4, and a 1-inch chisel, so you're getting 3 chisels under $20. Out of the box, they're fairly sharp. Not amazingly razor sharp, but they will get the job done for some rough tasks. Also, the handles are extremely nice. Nice little thumb placement spot right there. Very ergonomic. They feel really nice in the hand. These actually feel like really nice quality chisels. And then, of course, on the end is a nice cap for striking with your mallets, things like that. Now, out of the box, doing a cut test with the grain, it made little wispy curls, which is what you want to see. Where you see these kind of fall a little short out of the box is going across the grain. It's a little rough. It doesn't really cut. It will cut, but it doesn't cut it really nice and smooth. But all you have to do is touch these up, sharpen them. I found one of the easiest ways to sharpen a chisel. Anybody can do it. Doesn't matter if you've never sharpened them before. And it's using this little jig called the G-Sharp. I'll link to it in the description as well. It is not under $20. I think it's around $70 or $80, but it's one of the best jigs you're going to buy to be able to sharpen chisels and keep them sharp. And just using this to touch up this chisel, all I'm doing is putting a nice little beveled edge on there. And what that means is, instead of that bevel on the end of the chisel being all the exact same angle, you put a slightly steeper angle right on the end of that chisel. You'll see that little shiny spot. That's going to make it cut razor sharp. Now when I'm cutting with the grain or even against the grain, I'm getting those curls. With a DeWalt chisel, under $20, you can't beat it, and you're getting 3. So I would recommend these if you don't have any chisels or you just want to pick up an extra set for roughing tasks. Next up, last time I showed these in a video, they sold out really fast, but it's been a couple of years ago. And of course, they're back in stock. And this is the Win T-Square. If you don't have any of these, they're wildly useful in the shop, and these are very, very budget friendly. But just because you're paying less for them doesn't mean you're getting bad quality. Anodized aluminum, all laser etched markings, and when you think of accuracy and precision in woodworking, a lot of people look to woodpeckers for that because they are expensive, but they also are very accurate. You lay this right up against the Win, dead on, all the way out to 6 inches, so you're not going to have any problems with accuracy. What these are really great for is drawing parallel lines, so if you're laying things out, it is a T-square, so it'll actually hook onto the edge of the material, so it lets you reference the edge of that material to draw those parallel lines. There are plenty of holes to draw any increment that you're going to want. These are in 1/32 of an inch spacings on these holes, so you're going to get dead accurate every time. This also is very square, so if you're using it as a square, it'll work for that too. I like this little 6-inch one, but they also have a couple of others like a 12-inch. I think it's a little more than $20, but under $20 for this precision and accuracy and quality is very hard to beat, and I recommend this one. Oh, and my favorite pencil, the Pentel Graph Gear, is also under 20 bucks. Next, drill bits, driver bits. Everybody should have a set because you're gonna need them at some point. DeWalt sells 2 sets, both under $20 each. I've got both of them. I've actually had a set of each of these before, still have them, but I wanted to get a new set because, you know, I scatter my bits around the shop and now they're gone, or I can't find them. You can get a 14-piece drill bit set from DeWalt in this case, so they stay organized if you're the type that puts your bits back, which you should, but some of us don't. This gives you bits from 1/16 of an inch all the way up to 1/2 inch, so you can drill a variety of size holes. What I like these for most of the time are these smaller bits where I need to drill pilot holes. That's where these come in handy the most, and for the price, it's hard to beat. And of course, driver bits to drive those screws in after you drill the pilot holes. I didn't have this exact set, which is why I picked it, because it has a couple of extended reach bits in there for the Phillips and the flathead. And then of course, you got driver bits, and your common size nut drivers, and of course, any other size driver head that you're gonna need for like Torx or square, Phillips, flathead, various sizes. Again, under 20 bucks each, and it's in that tough case line, just like the organizer was, so they'll actually stack on top of each other. Next, you know how frustrating it is? I'm sure you do. Looking around your shop because you need one screw to finish the project, or you need that one screw to finish that drawer hinge and you can't find it, or you need a washer and you can't find it because it's in a pile of your other crap. I get so mad. I do it all the time, so I fixed it. What I did was I just bought several of these assortments off of Amazon, all less than $20 each, from wood screws, nuts and bolts, washers, or washers if you're in the South like me, and then of course a variety of size screws, just so I would have them in hand. And what's really great about this is they all come in their own little packages or own little organizers, so you don't have to worry about actually putting them in other organizers unless you already bought some type of organizer thing for all your small parts, or screws, bolts, things like that. Then you could just easily sort them. But for me, I could throw these in a drawer where I know where they're going to be and not have to dig through that mess that I have over there now. Next, a little hidden gem that I wish I had bought a long time ago. This is a little mini plane. It's a little block plane, and it's wildly useful for a variety of tasks in the shop, especially if you just need to touch things up or just take off a little bit of material. Or or maybe you just want to soften the edge of the board. As you can see, it gives you some wispy curls. This is right out of the box, never sharpened. I'm not a hand tool guy. I don't do a lot of hand tool stuff. But there are times when you just need to take off a little bit. Even trying to take off a full width here, it will give you those wispy curls as well. Very easy to use. You just twist the little knob to the right on the very back, and that pushes the blade out further. To the left, brings the blade back in. Just a handy little tool to have in the shop for less than $20. It's one of those that just, you'll be glad you had it when you need it. I like it right there. Don't forget about this little hidden gem that I think most everybody's going to want to buy, and the outlaw effect will be in play here. I saw this, I thought, man, I can think of a few times I would have liked to have had something like this, especially if you're trying to match something. This is a little template, I don't know what they call it, template guide, template former. I mean, it'll form to basically any shape, including my round head. I didn't realize it was so round. So let's say you're working in the house, you need to fit a piece around a door frame or something like that. You could use this to get the exact shape. Or if you're wanting to recreate a shape to make a template out of. For instance, if I wanted to match this shape of the top of my mallet, all I would do is take this little jewel, stick it on there and press down. This does a couple of things. It gives me the exact distance from 2 points there, and then it also recreates that shape. So if I wanted to trace that out and use this as a template for the mallets or whatever I'm making, I could do. I just thought this was pretty neat and thought it was worth showing. Again, less than 20 bucks. And if nothing else, you could just goof around with it. This is the bow push stick, again, under $20. This thing is really nice because, for one, it's a nice shape, very ergonomic. It has that nice EVA foam tip on there, so if that does contact your blade, it's not going to really matter other than it's going to cut that replaceable tip. They do have replacements for this, and they have two sizes. This is a shorter size. The longer size is barely over $20, but this one is under $20, and it's a better push stick, in my opinion, than what comes with your table saw. I have seen dozens and dozens of pictures of people being injured by those plastic push sticks. It can shatter into 1,000 pieces if it hits the blade, if it's that brittle material or brittle plastic. So these, I feel like, are much safer, and I like the fact that it has a little notch on the end, helps you push that board right through. I think these are really nice little push sticks to have around the shop. This is a Jorgensen flush trim saw. I love having little flush trim saws around the shop. This has a very nice little rubberized handle. This also has 2 sets of teeth. On one side, you have an 18 teeth per inch. On the other side, 25 teeth per inch. It's basically, a lot of times they'll call it softwood and hardwood teeth, but it's basically coarse and fine. So depending on what you're cutting. These are perfect for cutting out little small parts that you wouldn't dare try to cut on a miter saw or even a table saw because it's just not safe. Like if you're cutting little dowel plugs, things like that. And of course, this flexible blade will allow you to do flush trim, and this is under $20, and it's one of those no-brainers if you don't have one. A lot of people have framing squares. This is what they call a framing square. It's like 16 inches by 24 inches. It's nice to have in the shop to lay out bigger things, especially on sheet goods and things like that. And if you don't have one, this is a really nice one from PowerTech. It's also under $20, linked in the description. Nice, easy to read, markings on there, really high contrast. There's an attachment for these that takes them to the next level. And if you don't have one of these, get it and thank me later. I've had one of these framing square fences for a while now, similar to this one. It makes these things so wildly useful. So a framing square is flat, obviously, all flat on all sides. You can't necessarily use it like you can some other layout squares that have a shoulder that will lock in on the edge of the board because of the flatness. This will allow you to do that, plus there's a couple of other things you can do with this that makes it next level. First, very easy to attach. Just gonna slide it onto your square, press it all the way up against it, and then tighten those little thumb screws, little brass screws, screw them down snug. You don't have to be real tight. From there, this just turned into a speed square because now it'll reference the edge of my board, and I can use this to lay out anything that I would like one of those shoulder type squares. Not only that, but you can also use this as an edge guide. I used one of these as an edge guide for a router when I was building my portable work table. Routing dovetail grooves across the grain on this portable work table. This works beautifully because the edge of your router will ride right along the edge of that square, and this is keeping it square. It just works. It works good, and they're very cheap, and they're worth every penny. Next, a little radius jig. If you've got a hand router, or especially at a router table, these are wildly useful, but you can also use these with a hand router. Just make sure you're hanging on to the sucker real tight as well as your router. But The way these work is if you're in a handheld router, you're going to be using one of these top bearing bits. In other words, the bearing is closest to your router. And that's going to ride along the edge of this template. Now this template is from Win, has multiple sizes available from like 1/8 inch all the way up to 1/4 inch radiuses. So if you're making cutting boards or charcuterie boards or even wanting to round over the edge of something like this 2x12, you can do that so long as your bit's long enough. Mine was a little short, but that's okay. Just for demonstration purposes, we can see that it's going to do a really good job following that template. Now make sure that when you lay this thing on there, the bearing is actually just below or a little below the surface of your router base, because if not, it will cut into this aluminum. Ask me how I know. But overall, for the price of these, if you just need to do some quick roundovers and things like that, or rounding the edges or corners off, this would be a good set for you. Just use caution. Next, DFM Tool Works. I've shown several of their tools over the years on this channel because I like the tools that they make, and they're made here in the USA. This is a little card scraper, but it's different than ones you've probably seen before. These have radiuses on each corner. We got 3/8, 7/16, half, and 3/4. I know I didn't go in order. You OCD people, you'll be all right. So the way you use these is if, let's say you don't like using a router, or you just want to clean up an edge that you did use a router on, maybe you got some burn marks, things like that. This is going to be able to remove those burn marks easily, keep your same radius without damaging it. But if you don't have a router and you want to do some round over edges, especially on some softer woods like pine, spruce, that sort of thing, this is going to work for you. You see here, it didn't take me long to pull a rounded edge on this piece of pine using that 3/8 inch radius, and it's perfectly 3/8 of an inch. This thing was pulling off wispy curls right out of the box, so you're going to be able to do that on multiple sizes. If I was going all the way up to 3/4, I would probably start out at 3/8 and work my way around. That'd probably be the easiest, but for less than $20, hard to beat. Before we get to this little gem where I think the outlaw effect will be in play on it, I did buy this box of squeeze clamps. I didn't read the description. I thought they were going to be bigger. These are little mini squeeze clamps, but I have this bigger set. I don't remember if they're under 20. If they are, I'll link them in the description. These are wildly useful. I use them all the time for glue ups and things like that. Even on the mini crosscut sled, I let the glue dry on the fence when I was gluing two pieces together, just using these. But these little tiny ones might be of use to you. I just didn't read, and I thought they were going to be bigger, but what are you going to do? All right, here it is. This little thing right here. I didn't know Win made this. I had several Win tools in this video because I like Win tools. I've always liked Win tools. They have some hidden gems that a lot of people don't know about, and this is no exception. This is a little angle finder, and I like the fact that this little thing is very precise. You can get the exact angle that you're going to need, no matter if you're using it for single miters or double. In other words, if you're going to put two pieces of trim together and they're coming together at an odd angle, you can use this to find the angle, and then it'll show you either single cut or double miter cut. In other words, you're going to use that degree to set your miter saw up. So in this instance, if I was putting trim here on, 10 degrees is what I was going to need to cut that at, so that each of these would be accurate and they'll meet up perfectly. This little guy is going to come in handy as a shirt pocket all over the shop and for a lot of projects, and I think this will sell out really fast. So if you want one, link in the description and that pinned comment. Check out the top 20 tools from Amazon in 2024. Some amazing tools on that list. Click on that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump.